Pepper! It needs pepper! No, no pepper! Salt! Salt! My God! No pepper is bland. It doesn't need it. You never add salt. You add too much.
The house that was once filled with laughter had become a battlefield where peace no longer dared to enter. Voices clashed from morning till night, sharp, relentless, unforgiving. "Did you just put salt in that soup again?" Mama Chima's voice thundered from the kitchen, her wrapper tied tightly as if ready for war. "And what is wrong with salt?" Mama Amara fired back without turning, her hand still moving angrily inside the pot. "Do you want to kill my daughter with too much salt?" "Your daughter?" Mama Chima scoffed loudly, stepping closer. "Is it only your daughter that is pregnant? Is that not my grandchild inside her?" The pot trembled between them as both women reached for the same spoon, their eyes locked in a silent challenge. One more word and the spoon would fly. One more insult and the pot would follow. "Leave that spoon." "You leave it." Pots clanged, lids fell, food was abandoned mid-cooking as insults flew freely. Creative, sharp, and dramatic, words that could slice through the strongest heart. Outside, neighbors had already gathered, pretending to pass, but slowing their steps, ears wide open, some even standing by the fence, whispering, "It has started again." Inside, Chima stood frozen at a corner, his face buried in his palms. "Amara, what is this?" he whispered helplessly. But Amara could barely respond. Her body was heavy, her heart heavier. She sat quietly, eyes tired, shoulders slumped, watching the chaos she could no longer control. The stress sat visibly on her face, her pregnancy now overshadowed by endless noise. "Mama, please, both of you, please," she begged softly, but her voice drowned in the storm. "Don't tell me, please," Mama Amara snapped, turning sharply. "I am the one who carried you for 9 months. And I am the one who raised the man that gave you that pregnancy." Mama Chima shot back instantly. The room erupted again. Yet, moments later, the same two women would suddenly switch roles, rushing to Amara's side. "Ndo, my daughter, come and lie down," Mama Amara said gently, adjusting her wrapper. No, she should sit up first. Her legs must not swell," Mama Chima countered, already pulling a stool. Then came the next battle. Who would massage her legs? "Move aside though, you don't know how to do it." "I have done this before you were even married." They argued, both grabbing one leg each, pressing too hard. "Ah, Mama, please, you are hurting me," Amara cried out, but neither listened, each determined to prove superiority. Even the unborn child was not spared from their rivalry. "This child will be named Chika," Mama Chima declared boldly one afternoon. "Over my dead body," Mama Amara snapped immediately. "His name is Chinedu, and that is final." "Who are you to decide? Who are you to question me?" The argument reignited, louder, fiercer, more ridiculous than before. Chima stepped forward again, desperation written all over him. "Enough, please, enough. This is my house." But his voice carried no authority in that moment. It dissolved into the noise, ignored, trampled, defeated. He tried again, softer this time. "Mama, please." But once again, he failed, completely, utterly. The house swallowed his words and spat them back as chaos. And so the cycle continued, day after day, noise after noise, until silence itself became a distant memory. If you have ever seen two storms collide under one roof, then you would understand that this was no longer a home. This was war. But before we go any further, support this channel by subscribing, because stories like this deserve to be told. Now let me ask you a question. Why is it that mother-in-laws can never seem to find peace with each other? Why must their battles become the burden of their children? Now come with me. Let me take you back to where all this madness began. Stay with me because what you are about to witness is something you will not believe. This is the battle of mother-in-laws. Long before the chaos that swallowed that home, There were two women whose names alone could scatter peace like dry leaves in the wind. Mama Chima, Neka, loud, sharp-tongued, proud to a fault, and Mama Amara, Obiageli, equally stubborn, dripping with sarcasm, never one to back down even when she was clearly wrong. Their rivalry did not begin in a day. It grew slowly, like a fire fed with dry wood from the market to the women's meetings. "Did you just take more pepper than you paid for?" Neka would shout, hands on her waist. "Are you counting my pepper for me now? Mind your business," Obiageli would snap back. And before long, voices would rise, baskets would shake, and the entire market would pause. Traders leaning forward, customers pretending to buy while their ears stretched wide. At women's meetings, it was no different. A simple suggestion would turn into a battlefield. "That idea makes no sense, and yours is foolish." Insults flew freely, and laughter often followed from those who had gathered just to watch the drama unfold. It became entertainment, a spectacle, a legend whispered from one compound to another. Their husbands carried the shame in silence. Papa Chima, or Keke, a quiet man whose eyes had seen too many embarrassing scenes, would simply shake his head. Neka, "Must you always fight?" But she never listened. Papa Amara, Eze, tried to hide his frustration behind humor. "Obiageli, one day your voice will win an award for loudest in the land," he would joke, yet his laughter carried a weight of shame. The two women could not even greet each other without turning it into an insult. "So, you still wake up this early to cause trouble? Better than waking up to gossip like you." And so, their hatred grew, becoming a story everyone knew, a rivalry that refused to die. But in the midst of that storm, something unexpected blossomed quietly. Chima and Amara, their children, childhood friends who grew side by side, shared laughter, kindness, and a gentleness that seemed untouched by the bitterness of their mothers. Where their mothers clashed, they connected. Where their mothers shouted, they listened. Their love grew in secret, hidden under trees, during errands, in quiet corners where the world could not interrupt. "Amara, I don't want a life without you," Chima whispered one evening, his voice soft but firm. Amara's eyes filled with emotion. "Even if they never agree?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Even then," he replied. And in that moment, their love became something unshakable, something determined. When they finally revealed their intention to marry, it was as if thunder struck twice. "Over my dead body," Neka screamed, slamming her hand against the wall. "You will not bring that woman's daughter into my son's life." Obiageli was no calmer. "As long as I am alive, my daughter will not marry into that family." Tears flowed, threats followed, dramatic scenes filled the air, mothers crying, shouting, even pretending to fall sick just to break them apart. Villagers gathered again, gossip spreading like wildfire. "Did you hear? The children of those two enemies want to marry." Yet, despite the pressure, despite the manipulation, despite the endless attempt to separate them, their love only grew stronger, deeper, unyielding, like a seed that refused to die no matter how harsh the soil became. But Chima and Amara refused to bend, their love standing firm like a tree in the middle of a storm. No matter how hard their mothers pushed, they held on to each other. "We are doing this," Chima said one evening, his voice calm but unshakable. Amara nodded, gripping his hand. "Together." And when it became clear that the young lovers would not give up, their fathers stepped in. Okeke and Eze, two men worn out by years of public embarrassment, sat their wives down. "Enough is enough," Okeke said quietly, rubbing his forehead. "This fight has gone too far." Eze added, trying to soften the tension with a forced smile. "Let the children be happy. At least let us have peace for once."
But peace did not come easily. The women exchanged long, hard looks, silence hanging heavy, before Nneka finally spoke. "I will agree, but don't expect me to pretend." Obiageli scoffed, folding her arms. "Who asked you to pretend?" And just like that, they agreed, but not in unity, not in peace. The wedding preparations began, and with it came a new level of chaos. Every single decision turned into a battlefield. "This food is too expensive. Are you the one paying? These guests are too many. Are they coming to your father's house? Why is this seat here? Move it if it pains you." Arguments filled the air like smoke. Tailors became confused messengers, running between two stubborn women who refused to agree on anything. "Mama, so which one should I sew?" one tailor asked helplessly. "Sew what I told you," Nneka snapped. "Ignore her, sew mine," Obiageli countered immediately. Neighbors whispered and laughed, gathering in corners to share updates. This wedding will be more interesting than the marriage itself. The biggest drama came with the asoibi, the chosen cloth that was meant to unite both families. Nneka refused flatly. "I will not wear anything that woman agreed to," she said boldly, lifting her chin. Obiageli burst into mocking laughter, as if anyone is begging you to look good.
The tension built, rising higher each passing day until the wedding day finally arrived. The atmosphere was heavy, joy struggling to breathe under the weight of unresolved bitterness. Guests filled the venue, but their eyes searched for one thing: the two women. And when they appeared, the whispers began immediately. Both dressed completely differently, colors clashing, styles opposing, a silent declaration of war. "I told you," someone whispered, "this wedding will not end well." And truly, it almost didn't. Small arguments sparked like firecrackers. "Why is she sitting there? Who told her to greet first?" Voices rose again, drawing attention, embarrassment spreading across the faces of their husbands. At one point, the tension snapped. The two women stepped forward, eyes blazing, hands slightly raised, ready to strike. "Try it! You try it first." But before the unthinkable could happen, Okeke and Eze rushed in, holding them back. "Have you no shame?" Okeke whispered harshly. "Not today, please, not today," Eze begged, his voice filled with exhaustion. Slowly, reluctantly, they pulled apart. The ceremony continued, fragile, shaky, but still standing. And in the midst of all the chaos, Chima and Amara held each other, their eyes filled with relief and quiet joy. Because despite everything, despite the noise, the insults, the near disaster, they had made it. The vows were said, the union sealed, and just like that, Chima and Amara became husband and wife, their love victorious, even in the middle of war. At last, away from the noise and endless battles, Chima and Amara stepped into their new home, a small space filled not with luxury, but with peace, the kind of peace they had fought so hard to find. Laughter returned like a long-lost friend, echoing through their walls. Soft conversations at night, shared meals without arguments, stolen glances filled with love. This is all I ever wanted," Amara whispered one evening, resting her head on Chima's shoulder. "And I will protect it," Chima replied gently, holding her closer. Their days were simple yet full. Happiness lived in the little things, until months later, life gave them another reason to smile. Amara stood quietly, her hands trembling slightly as she looked at him. "Chima, I think," she paused, emotions rising in her chest, "I am pregnant." For a moment, silence filled the room, then it broke into pure joy. Chima's face lit up, his eyes wide with disbelief and happiness. "Amara!" he exclaimed, pulling her into a tight embrace, laughter and tears mixing together. From that moment, everything changed. He became more careful, more attentive, watching every step she took. Don't carry that. I will do it. Sit down first. Have you eaten? His voice was filled with concern and love. Their home grew warmer, softer, filled with hope. But one afternoon at the market, that peace met its first test. Amara spotted her mother, Obiageli, and with excitement shining in her eyes, she rushed forward. "Mama, I have something to tell you," she said, barely able to contain herself. "What is it?" Obiageli asked, studying her face. And then Amara said it, softly but proudly. "I am pregnant." The reaction was instant. Obiageli's face broke into a wide smile. "Chineke, my daughter," she exclaimed, pulling her into a tight embrace, her joy overflowing. But just as quickly, her expression changed into determination. "Good, then I will come and stay with you," she declared firmly. Amara blinked, caught off guard. "Stay with me," she repeated, hesitant. "Mama, I can take care of myself." But Obiageli shook her head immediately. "This is your first child. You know nothing yet. I will come and take care of you properly." Her tone left no room for argument. Amara forced a small smile, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. "Okay, Mama," she said reluctantly. Later that evening, she told Chima everything, watching his face carefully. He listened, nodded slowly, then smiled gently. "If it will make her happy, let her come," he said calmly. "And if it helps you, then I am fine with it." Amara sighed softly, leaning into him, unaware that this simple decision would soon shake the very peace they had just begun to enjoy. The day Mama Amara arrived, she did not come quietly. She came like a moving market, 2 heavy bags hanging from her arms, a basket balanced expertly on her head, filled with foodstuffs that announced her presence even before her voice did. "Open the door, your mother has come," she called out, her tone already claiming ownership. Amara rushed to receive her, smiling nervously. "Mama, welcome." But before she could even settle, Obiageli had stepped fully into the house, scanning every corner with sharp eyes. This place needs arrangement," she muttered, dropping her bags with authority. From that moment, the house slowly stopped feeling like Amara's and began to feel like hers. She took over the kitchen without asking, rearranging pots, questioning ingredients, directing everything. No, don't cook it like that. Come, I will show you," she would say, already pushing Amara aside gently but firmly. To Chima, however, her tone softened. "My son, have you eaten?" she would ask with a smile. But even in her kindness, there was a quiet dominance, a reminder that she was now in charge. Chima noticed it but said nothing, choosing peace over confrontation. But peace did not last long, because news travels fast, and when it reached Mama Chima, it exploded like fire in dry grass. "What did you say?" Neka shouted, rising to her feet in disbelief. "That woman is in my son's house?" Her voice trembled with anger. "My son's house is not a guest house." Without wasting another breath, she tied her wrapper tightly and stormed out, her footsteps heavy with fury. When she arrived, she did not knock, she did not greet. She stood at the entrance and shouted, "Obiageli, come out if you are still alive." The air froze. Amara's heart skipped. Chima stepped forward quickly. "Mama, please," but Nneka brushed past him, her eyes locked on her rival. Obiageli stepped out slowly, wiping her hands, completely unfazed. "Why are you shouting like a madwoman?" she said calmly. And that was all it took. The fire erupted instantly. "Who gave you the right to enter my son's house and settle like you built it?" Nneka snapped, pointing accusingly. Obiageli laughed mockingly, folding her arms. "Your son's house? Is my daughter not living here, or did she marry herself?" The insults came fast, sharp, dangerous. "You want to control everything as usual. Better than being useless and loud. Watch your mouth. Make me." Voices rose. Neighbors gathered again, drawn by the familiar sound of chaos. Whispers spreading like wildfire. Inside, Chima and Amara stood helpless, watching the storm they could not stop. "Mama, please, let her stay," Amara pleaded softly. But Nneka turned to her sharply. "So you have chosen her over me?" Her voice filled with accusation. Yet Obiageli did not move. She stood her ground firmly. "I am not going anywhere," she said with finality. The words hung heavy, daring anyone to challenge them. Nneka's chest rose and fell with anger, her eyes burning, but after a long, tense moment, she turned sharply. "This is not over," she declared, her voice low but dangerous. And with that, she stormed out, leaving behind a silence that was anything but peaceful, a silence that promised that this war had only just begun. When Mama Chima returned home that day, her anger had not cooled. It had only grown sharper, hotter, more dangerous. She paced the room like a caged lion, munching under her breath, while Papa Chima, Okeke, watched her with tired eyes, already sensing what was coming. "Nneka, don't even think about it," he said quietly, but firmly. She stopped and turned to him, her eyes blazing. "Think about what?" she snapped, though they both knew exactly what he meant. "Do not go to that house," Okeke continued. "Let those children have peace for once." But Nneka let out a dry laugh, shaking her head. "Peace? When that woman is there? Over my dead body," she replied, already reaching for her bag. "Nneka, I am warning you," Okeke's voice rose slightly. "If you leave this house now, you are going there to cause trouble." But she ignored him completely, stuffing clothes angrily into her bag, tying her wrapper tightly, as if preparing for battle. "Let trouble come, I am ready," she muttered. And before he could stop her, she was gone. Her steps fast, determined, filled with purpose, like a warrior heading into war. When she arrived at her son's house, the sight before her only fueled her anger. There they were, Chima, Amara, and Mama Amara, seated outside, laughing, eating bushmeat, drinking palm wine like one happy family. The sound of their laughter hit her like an insult. She froze for a second, then exploded. "So this is what is happening here." Her voice cut through the air like a blade. The laughter died instantly. Chima stood up in shock. "Mama?" he called, confused. But she was already advancing, her eyes moving from one face to another, filled with accusation. "You are here eating and laughing while I am alive?" she shouted, pointing at them. "Have you all forgotten that I exist?" Her voice broke slightly, turning from anger to something deeper, something heavier. "So I am no longer your mother?" she asked, her tone now soaked in emotional blackmail. Chima's face tightened, guilt creeping in. "Mama, that's not what I meant," he said quickly, stepping closer. But she cut him off. "Then what do you mean? That woman is here living comfortably and you did not even think of me?" Silence fell, heavy and uncomfortable. Chima looked at his wife, his eyes searching for help. Amara hesitated for a moment, then slowly nodded, a small, uncertain approval. And that was all Nneka needed. She dropped her bag with finality. "Good," she said, walking past them. "Now that I am here, we will all stay together." And in that moment, without fully understanding it, they had sealed their fate. Because from that day forward, life became unbearable. The house turned into a battlefield once again. Arguments erupted daily, loud, endless, exhausting. "Why are you adding pepper like that? Why are you always complaining?" Kitchen battles became routine. Salt versus no salt, pepper versus no pepper, voices clashing, hands waving, pots nearly thrown across the room, food abandoned halfway as insults took center stage. Sharp, creative, dramatic words flew from one side to the other. Outside, neighbors gathered like spectators, whispering, laughing quietly. This house again. Inside, Chima stood at a corner, his shoulders slumped, his face tired, while Amara sat quietly, her strength slowly fading, not from the weight of pregnancy alone, but from the endless noise that filled her home. Her eyes lost their sparkle, her smiles became forced, and her body carried a quiet exhaustion that no amount of rest could fix. Every argument chipped away at her peace. Every insult echoed in her chest.
"Please, can you both just stop?" she would whisper, her voice weak, but her plea never lasted more than a second before it was swallowed by another clash. Because even their so-called care had become another battlefield. Mama Amara would say, adjusting Amara's wrapper gently, "And you think shouting is not stressing her?" Mama Chima would fire back instantly, stepping closer. "Move, let me take care of my grandchild." "Your grandchild? Is she not my daughter?" And just like that, another argument would begin. Yet, in the middle of the chaos came moments so ridiculous they almost felt unreal. Both women competing over who would massage Amara's legs. "Shift! You are pressing too hard. At least I am doing something, not just talking." Each grabbing one leg, pulling, pressing, arguing. "Ah, Mama, please," Amara cried. But neither listened, each determined to win a battle no one asked for. Even the unborn child became a source of conflict months before his arrival. "His name will be Chika," Mama Chima declared one afternoon, her tone firm. "It will never happen," Mama Amara snapped immediately. "His name is Chinedu. End of discussion." "Who ended it?" "I just did." Voices rose again, louder, sharper. Chima rushed in, frustration written all over his face. "Please, can we not do this today?" he begged, looking from one to the other. But like always, his words meant nothing. They brushed past him, their argument growing stronger, and once again, he failed completely. Until the day finally came, the day the child arrived. The house filled with cries, not of anger this time, but of new life. Amara lay exhausted, but relieved, tears of joy slipping down her face as she held her baby. "My child," she whispered softly. But that moment of peace did not last. "My grandson," Mama Amara shouted, rushing forward, her face glowing with pride. "Our grandson," Mama Chima corrected immediately, stepping in, reaching for the child as well.
Both women hovered, touching, claiming. Their joy quickly turned into another silent competition. And when it was time to name the child, the storm returned in full force. "He will be called Chika," Mama Chima said boldly, standing tall. "Over my dead body," Mama Amara snapped, her voice rising instantly. "His name is Chinedu." "Who gave you the right? Who are you to question me?" The argument escalated dangerously, voices clashing, hands moving, the tension rising to the point where it almost turned physical. "Try it. You try it first." But before it could go any further, the father stepped in once again, Okeke and Eze rushing forward, holding them apart. "Enough!" Okeke's voice was firm, filled with authority rarely used. "Will you destroy everything because of a name?" Eze added, shaking his head in disbelief. Slowly, reluctantly, the women pulled back, breathing heavily, their anger still burning. But the disaster had been stopped for now, leaving behind a room filled with both joy and tension. A new life welcomed into a home that still had not learned how to live in peace. As the days passed and the child grew stronger, it became clear to everyone that it was time for the mothers to return to their homes. What was meant to be a temporary stay had stretched far beyond its welcome. Yet, when the subject was raised, both women refused, as if the words themselves were an insult. "Go back and leave my daughter like this?" Mama Amara scoffed, adjusting the baby on her lap. "Who will take care of her?" "Take care of her or take control of the house?" Mama Chima cut in sharply, then quickly added, "And me, Nko, am I not needed here?" Their excuses came one after the other,
endless, overlapping, stubborn, each one louder than the last. The baby is still too small. She has not fully recovered. This house still needs proper arrangement. Reasons piled upon reasons until it became obvious neither of them had any intention of leaving. And so, the house grew heavier, tighter, more suffocating. Arguments returned with full force, louder than before, more exhausting. Peace became a forgotten memory.
Chima watched it all in silence, his eyes tired, his spirit worn down. Until one night, as the noise echoed once again through the walls, something inside him shifted. Quietly, without announcement, he made a decision. The next morning, before the house could wake fully into another storm, he moved softly, gently carrying his sleeping child. "Amara," he whispered, touching her shoulder. She opened her eyes, confused. "What is it?" she asked weakly. "We are leaving," he said simply, his voice calm but firm. She looked at him for a moment, then slowly nodded, too tired to question. Together, they packed only what they needed. No noise, no confrontation, no farewell, just quiet escape. Step by step, they walked out of the house that had lost its peace, leaving behind the two women who had turned it into a battlefield, and went straight to his father's house, seeking refuge, seeking rest. And for the first time in a long while, as the door closed behind them, a strange calm followed. Back in the house they left behind, silence fell, deep, unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable. The kind of silence that forces one to think, the kind that reveals everything that noise had been hiding. For the first time in what felt like forever, both women sat in silence, the house empty of noise, the clatter of pots and harsh words replaced by a heavy, almost unbearable stillness. Nneka stared at the floor, Obiageli at the wall, neither speaking, neither moving. The usual fire between them was gone, replaced by a strange awkwardness. "Why are we fighting?" Nneka whispered, finally, her voice small, unsure. I don't know," Obiageli admitted, her own voice trembling. "Neither do I." And in that silence, the weight of everything they had done pressed down on them. Regret burned in their chests. Shame twisted their stomachs. They remembered every insult, every tear, every day they had made life unbearable for their children. And slowly, words came, halting, broken, but honest. I am sorry, Obiageli," Nneka said, looking up for the first time with genuine remorse. Obiageli's eyes filled with tears. I am sorry too, Nneka." And in that moment, something shifted. The bitterness melted, replaced by understanding. The realization that love and family mattered more than pride. They stood together, hands brushing, then clasping, holding tightly, a symbol of unity stronger than words could express. Without a word, they walked out of the house, side by side, their heads held high, hearts full of hope. And when they reached their children's home, their husbands froze in disbelief, mouths open, eyes wide, never expecting this display. Mama, is that really you?" Chima stammered. I can't believe this," Chima muttered, almost ready to turn and run. But before they could move, both women dropped to their knees, hands clasped, eyes wet. "Please, forgive us, children," Nneka said, her voice trembling. Obiageli echoed, "We are so sorry. please forgive us." The weight of years, anger, and pride spilled out in that single moment. Tears ran freely, but then laughter bubbled up between sobs, awkward, shaky, full of relief. Chima took a step forward, kneeling slightly. Mama, it's okay," he said softly. Amara joined in. "Yes, we forgive you both." And in that instant, the house that had known nothing but war felt lighter, warmer, alive with love again. After a long, quiet moment, Chima lifted his wife and child, holding them close, and together they returned to their home, the air filled with a calm they had not known in years. Neka turned to her husband, Okeke, tears still on her cheeks. "I am sorry, my husband, for all the shame and noise." He nodded, smiling, relief washing over him.
Obiageli did the same to Izzy, their apologies sincere, their hearts lighter. And slowly they began to visit each other. Not as rivals, not as enemies, but together, side by side, laughing, sharing meals, enjoying each other's company. The old battles were forgotten, replaced by a new rhythm of friendship, unity, and peace. And for the first time in a long while, Chima and Amara could breathe, their home finally their own, filled with love, laughter, and the quiet joy of family truly whole. After the storm had passed, something miraculous began to take root. Mama Chima and Mama Amara, once sworn enemies, now found themselves side by side in the kitchen, chopping vegetables together, stirring pots, laughing at some forgotten joke from the market, their voices soft, warm, filled with a rhythm that no one had imagined possible. "Obiageli, you really do know how to season soup," Neka said one afternoon, nudging her gently with an elbow. Obiageli laughed, a rich, unguarded sound. "And you, Neka, don't burn everything after all." And in that shared laughter, the years of hatred melted away, vanished like smoke. Villagers passing by stopped in their tracks, eyes wide, mouths half open, whispering to one another, "Are these the same women? Did we sleep and wake in a different village?" Their shock became entertainment for others, but inside the home, it became a lesson, a quiet example of how hearts can change, how grudges can be set aside. They began to visit each other's houses regularly, helping one another with errands, sharing stories, exchanging food, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. No one dared to challenge them, and even if they had, it would have been impossible. The warmth between them undeniable. Chima and Amara watched all this in awe, their own love flourishing in the calm that now filled their lives. Mornings were no longer met with shouting, but with soft greetings. Meals prepared together, small jokes exchanged. The child laughed freely, slept peacefully, grew under the care of both grandmothers. The walls of the house no longer carried the echoes of battle, but the warmth of family and togetherness. One evening, as Chima held Amara close, watching their son play at his grandmother's feet, he whispered softly, "We have finally found peace." Amara nodded, her hand on his shoulder, tears glistening in her eyes. "Yes, love, and it feels like a blessing." Neka looked up from stirring her pot, Obiageli beside her chopping vegetables. "See, Amara, see, Chima, hatred without reason destroys everything," Neka said quietly. Obiageli smiled, nodding in agreement. "But love and humility restore." And in that moment, the entire home breathed as one. A place once torn by pride, bitterness, and stubbornness was now filled with laughter, warmth, and understanding. The family had survived the chaos, and stronger than ever, they had learnt a lesson no one could forget, that hearts can change, wounds can heal, and even the fiercest enemies can become inseparable friends when humility, patience, and love take root.